Good afternoon. It's boiling. The UK is having an intense heat wave. I've got myself a lollipop and we're going to answer some questions because truly this week has been a bit chaotic life-wise. So I haven't picked up to vlog. So I thought I would do a juicy Q&A. I feel like in the past I've not framed it as a juicy Q&A, and I'm going to answer more juicy questions than usual because I feel like it. So let's get the questions up, shall we? Who else agrees that Rowntree's fruit pastel are the best? Ice lolly. First question. How has your relationship with Alex changed now that you're parents? I'm always hesitant to talk about relationships on the internet because people can really misconstrue what you say, or I like to protect my family. Maybe over the years you've noticed I don't really show my family or my friends. And obviously I don't show Elowen's face, and even the kind of, I guess, deeper parts of mine and Alex's relationship I don't show. Obviously we interact on camera, and I've had a lot of judgment in the past when we used to have our own couple channel, which if you've been watching for that long, you may remember Alex and Maddie, we had a channel. We had a separate channel. Basically I made that channel when we travelled, and we used to get so many comments about our relationship, and so we stopped the channel because it was negative. So I go into this question with hesitation. However, I think it's helpful because Alex and I have been together for nearly 16 years, and so we're new parents, we've been together for a long time, we're married now. I don't want to paint this picture of our life being perfect or our relationship being perfect, because it definitely isn't. We've had so many struggles and problems over the years, and since being parents, it has been really difficult on many occasions, because when you become a parent, it's no longer just about the two of you, it's about the three of you. So you can disagree on, I guess, how things are, and especially from a perspective of being a woman as well. You go through such an upheaval in your life when you're pregnant, when you give birth, and then when you have a baby. So things like breastfeeding, the postpartum experience, the hormonal load and change, and having a child who, during their first year of life, is reliant on their mother very, very heavily. So the parenting is a bit skewed, and it's more that the man is obviously parenting with you and looking after their child as well, but it's that they are kind of looking after their role more is kind of looking after the mum, especially in those early days when, for me anyway, it was when I was breastfeeding a lot. Alex, his main job was to look after me so I could look after Elowen. And so there inevitably will be disagreements and problems. It has definitely changed in that I think that it has made us probably notice the things in our relationship maybe that we were, the problems that we were maybe lazy about fixing before. When you have a child, you have to very quickly say, actually, this issue that I feel maybe some resentment about, we need to fix it, because you can't leave it unfixed when you have a child. So it can be something really tiny, like a disagreement. A lot of mine and Alex's disagreements are around tidiness. If you marry someone, you're in a partnership with someone where you both have different levels of tidiness, or you are different in the way you do things like that, that can be like a way that you butt heads, and it is for me and Alex. So maybe before it was just like a little it was like a disagreement that's oh, that's annoying, can you just clean up after yourself? When you're a parent, it can be a bit well, actually this impacts more, so you have to face it head on, and you have to discuss it, and you have to come up with a solution. So I think it's made us probably more aware of our problems, but it's also made us more aware of fixing those problems and finding a solution, rather than kind of, I guess, arguing about it or brushing it under the rug. I think that the first year of being a new parent is really incredibly tough on both of you, because you come from totally different perspectives. And so sometimes I will feel like I'm not being heard, and sometimes Alex will feel like he's not being heard because he's a dad, I'm a mum, and we have different experiences, and so it can be really, really tough. And so that's how I think it's changed our relationship. So it's not all rainbows and butterflies. We definitely have had lots of disagreements and problems since having a baby, but I think it's made us both better people, and I think in the long run it will improve our relationship, because it kind of makes you grow up, to be honest with you. That's the key. It makes you grow up. So I'm going to try and mix this up because I know there's lots of parenting questions. How long did it take to start making an income on social media? Now, I'm really gonna have to try and figure out my memory because I have the worst memory. But from my memory, and this may be incorrect, when I first started social media, I'm pretty sure it was February 2016. I think in the first year, or by the end of that year, I feel like there was a milestone where I hit 1,000. And I was like, wow, I've hit 1,000 followers. And then there was a milestone where I hit 10,000. And I was like, wow. So I'm pretty certain, well, I know anyway, for the first year or two, I didn't make any money. I know that when Alex and I started to go traveling, that was when I realized, actually, I can make an income from this. And I had 50,000 followers. So when did we go traveling? 2017, 2018? 2017. I feel like it was a year. Yeah, a year I hit 10,000 followers. At that point, I was working for my mum, but I started to make maybe a few £100 a month off of YouTube. And at the time, Alex and I were young and carefree. We saved up money. I was all in on my minimalist lifestyle. And so our expenses were pretty low. So we were able to save money, go traveling, and then like have a living whilst we were traveling because of my YouTube videos. Alex was editing them, I was filming them, and we just lived off of our savings and my income. And I'm pretty sure it was maybe a few £100s a month. Wasn't very much. And then I think when we came back and we moved to Brighton, that's when I started making what I would call a livable income, maybe minimum wage. So we started to make videos consistently together. I was like, you could either go get a job or we could try this together. And so we decided, let's do this together because I don't really want you working in a bar. I don't really want you having a temporary job. Alex was talking about becoming like a delivery driver, and I was like, I just don't want you to do that until he like figured out his career. I was like, why don't we, sorry, this is leaking, try it together? Because part of my problem is I can't film my videos easily by myself. It'd be so much easier if you were just in the kitchen with me, filming me. I could get it done faster, you could help me edit, etc. I think that was 2018, and that was the year that I blew up on social media. I gained hundreds of thousands of followers. I had millions of views, and I started to get brand deals. Now, I wouldn't say I was making loads of money by any stretch of the imagination, because when you blow up on social media, it takes time for brands to recognize you. It takes time for like your income to happen. But I was making more like minimum wage. I'm pretty sure that first year I would have done my accounts and it was, you know, like 12,000, maybe even less than minimum wage. I'm thinking, I know that I had 1 year of accounts, it was like 12,000. I didn't really have to pay any tax because it was like, yeah, what you would make in the UK that you don't have to pay tax on. And then I think the year after that, I started to make more of maybe a normal salary for my age. Again, I don't remember, but I'm imagining it was closer to like maybe 20 to 30,000 sort of salary, which again, because me and Alex were all in on the minimalist lifestyle, we were able to live together. We had a bit of money saved, but we were able to figure that out between the two of us, and we were just interested in growing this business. And then since then, we've moved back to Cornwall, and then my channel had sort of that momentum, and we started to make good money from YouTube and make it into a full-time career for both of us. We had employees, and yeah, it kind of happened in that way. So I've really given you a very long answer, but how long did it take you to start making an income? I would say probably within about a year from memory, but it wasn't much to begin with. Hardest stage of parenthood so far. The 4-month sleep regression. So newborn was difficult because you're learning it. Breastfeeding was incredibly difficult for me. It didn't happen naturally. It took so much effort. If you go back to my videos at the time, I will go into how hard that was. But there was this element of like euphoria of having a baby. The adrenaline rush was there. I think the hormones were on a high, where it's like that post-baby, for a lot of women anyway, for me, you have that post-baby high. I know that lots of women experience the baby blues. I was on a high. So even though it was incredibly difficult and I would be crying in the middle of the night, I would wake up the next day and look at my baby and go, oh my goodness, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. The 4-month sleep regression, I feel like I've blacked it out of my mind, because when I try and remember that time, I can't remember it. I just remember we were staying in Newlyn, and there were evenings where she wasn't going to sleep until 2, 3 in the morning. We would be trying to get her to go to sleep for about 8 hours. We would be in the carrier, we would be walking around the bedroom, going up and down the stairs, down the street, like literally doing everything we possibly could, feeding her, rocking her. She was crying, screaming, kicking. Nothing we would do would make her go to sleep. And it was so difficult because we were just like, what are we doing wrong? We started tracking her sleep. I was learning everything about sleep. And in the end, I think I realised that it's all just a phase and you actually can't control it sometimes. Sometimes you just have a baby that is more tricky to get to sleep. She's always been that way. She's still that way now. That was the hardest stage because it was like the newborn euphoria has gone, the newborn like attention and help has gone, and you're left with a baby that is really trying to figure life out, how to sleep and just go about their day. And like the amount of naps that you'd have to do when a baby doesn't want to sleep, it would just be like this constant struggle all day long and night. When we got through that phase, because I feel like that lasted maybe a couple weeks or 3 weeks, who knows, life was a lot easier. So if you're going through that, it's only a phase. Don't waste your time analysing sleep and trying to figure out a solution. It's just a phase and it will go, it will end. I'm really curious about your business structure and how much money your channel makes. So without going into, I guess you can't really, I don't really want to ever go into specifics, but the way that my business structure works is I have my YouTube channel, which is obviously the first thing I started with. That makes revenue on adverts. If you're watching this video and there's been adverts popping up, YouTubers will make a percentage of that ad revenue that YouTube will charge whoever's advertising. I feel like it's nearly 50-50 or it's 40-60. And each YouTuber will have a different CPM. So if you're a lifestyle YouTuber, your CPM typically is quite good because they're aware that it's like people watching who are watching from a vast range of backgrounds and interests. I know that finance or business oriented channels have the highest CPM, and maybe channels with like children in them, or like, I'm trying to think, I actually don't know, but there are some channels or gaming channels where the CPM is a lot lower, maybe more niche things. And that's how much you will get paid per click or view, or the length of time someone is watching you for. So that's one stream of income that I have, and that's the first stream of income I earned from, and it was very liberating at the time because it's like I'm in complete control. If I upload more videos or I get more views, I will earn more money. It's quite a fun way to do it, and obviously you're connecting with your audience and that's your main business. As time has gone on though, and my business has grown and the influencer marketing world has grown, I now make my largest sum of income from brand deals, and that's from the ads that you see on my channel when I'll say, hey, this is the sponsorship, this is the paid partnership. It's a brand that emails, or I email them, getting in touch with them, or vice versa. I use the product, or I'm interested, or it's a product I always use, and I will advertise that and they will pay me a sum of money to advertise it on my YouTube channel or my Instagram account or my TikTok account. You can also make money on those videos through usage. So this is something that's not new, but it's newer than it was years ago. If a brand wants to use that content, so for example, I make a reel, like a video on Instagram for a brand, and they want to put usage behind it, they'll put money behind it to use it as an advert for them. You get paid a percentage of that. Usually it's a percentage of the fee that you've charged, like maybe 12% or 15% of the fee. And that could be that they want usage and they want to put paid ads behind it for 60 days, and you can charge extra for that. Or you can make content directly for brands. Now I know this is called UCG now, it didn't used to be called that. That's where you make content just for brands. I've done this with brands like HelloFresh before, where I just make videos, it doesn't go on my account, you won't have seen it, but you might have seen those adverts pop up maybe when you've been scrolling. That's how I work with brands, and it's a really fun part of my job. I really enjoy that part of it because it's fun to pitch to brands, it's fun to come up with briefs and ideas for them, it's fun to sort of share the products that I love and enjoy with you. Over the years, it's been a fun process in terms of like wanting to reach out to more companies and work with more people, and ones that align with what I do on this channel. And within influence marketing, it always chops and changes. You can have some months where you make nothing from influence marketing, and then other months that you make a really big sum of your year. There are some months where you make a huge sum because you've done a brand deal with a specific brand, or you've done a long-term deal with someone. And it's more the business, that's more businessy. I have got a manager, he's my brother-in-law. He does all the deals for me. He does all the hard work in that sense. And then my other income structures is from my books that I've written. So I've written 3 books, 2 cookbooks, my most recent one, A Year in a Cottage Kitchen, and you get paid in advance from the publisher for those books. So I was approached by the publishers for these books. You negotiate in advance and then they pay you that, and then you make royalties if you go over that advance. and that's another revenue stream. And then you also can make money from affiliate marketing. Hello, Roxy. I personally don't lean too much on affiliate marketing. My channel is less about selling like products or getting people to be like, right, buy this right now. I think a lot of the time brands come to me to align with my kind of brand as a whole, and also for like education and learning, or like awareness. So I don't do a lot of affiliate marketing. That I think really works well for fashion and beauty influencers. I do it a little bit, but it's not a huge sort of source of income for me. And then I also have a website. So I have a website where I have ads on it. So my website, similarly to my YouTube, if you're scrolling on my website and there's an advert, I get paid if people click on that advert or whatever. So the views on my recipes will get a sum of money each month. And also ebook sales. I don't really promote my ebooks anymore because obviously I've moved into actual physical books. That was how that's how Alex and I were able to maintain both of us working together, because I used to sell ebooks. So I was able to sell a product of my own to my audience, a valuable product with recipes. So it was a source of income that maintained our business and enabled us to keep working, because YouTube revenue and brand deals weren't enough at the time. And that was really fantastic, because I felt so in control of that, and I was like, I'm able to make recipes, people buy the cookbooks, they use them, they love them, and I can make revenue every month from that, and I can promote it, do sales and stuff, bundles, and yeah, that's how I used to make most of my money years ago. How did you know you were ready to have a baby? How was it for Alex as well? So, fun fact, I've been ready to have a baby since I was a teenager. I remember I was the mum of the group. I wanted to have a baby. I remember specifically getting my period and thinking, yes, I got my period. This means I can have children and I can have babies, because all I want is babies. I met Alex when I was 18. Definitely wasn't interested in having babies then. I was in my party era. I was just like going out all the time, drunk at university, didn't know what I was doing with my life, came home, was like, wow, my life is really messed up. I have no idea what I want to do. Went through a bit of a crisis then. We went traveling, we were like young, free, having a great time. And then when we moved back to the UK and moved back to Cornwall specifically, I was like, yeah, I could have a baby. If we get married, I want a baby. Alex, however, he was more, I think when he was younger, he was a bit like, I could have children, I could not have children, I could take it or leave it. And over time, I think he started to think, maybe no, I actually do want a family. But he wanted to get like a dog first and like establish ourselves in our home and just kind of like, you know, get to a point where he felt like, right, okay, we can do this. So if it was up to me, I probably would have had babies in my late 20s. I'm just a bit more, what's the word, not spontaneous. I'm a bit more like, right, let's do it. Alex is like, let's think about it first, which is a really great balance actually in a relationship. And in hindsight, sometimes I wish or I wonder whether we should have had children when I was younger, because sometimes I get worried that I'm older now and having children later, and I'll be older when they get older. But I think it happened at the right time, and I think I am a better mum for having a child now than I would have done in my 20s, because I was going through a tough time, and I think I've learned a lot about myself through therapy and stuff. So I think that the time we ended up having children was actually the exactly right time. Well, this is an interesting question. How do you think the world of veganism is changing? Are things getting easier or harder? Now, in light of my last video where I talked about that post I did about not being a perfect vegan, and shit hit the fan, people went off. There was a mixture of people saying, thank you so much for this post. I feel exactly the same way. I'm the same kind of vegan, or I'm the same mindset. I'm a flexitarian. I call myself plant-based. This is how I do things. Or there were people who were really angry with me saying I'm diluting what veganism is, and I am the reason that veganism hasn't spread. I'm making a mockery of what veganism is. It's about the animals, and you're just saying that you can't be bothered, you're lazy. So there was these kind of two camps on that post of people arguing, which is kind of ironic because on the post I mentioned how I think that that's the issue a lot of the time with veganism, is that we have a lot of infighting. People who are 90 to 99% vegan, plant-based, and people who claim to be 100% plant-based vegan, which I don't think exists, by the way. Infighting of whether that's correct or this is correct. People infighting about that rather than thinking about the bigger picture that 99% of people, I think it's 1% of people globally are vegan or identify as vegan. I think it's 2 to 3% in the UK. Rather than focusing on the 99% and how we can kind of get them closer to plant-based vegan living, we infight about the smaller details and who's better than who. But I do think that the world of veganism is changing, and that I think that there is, same as like the world of politics, with the internet and with this sort of late stage capitalism, radical black and white, either or thought patterns and political ideologies and moral standings are becoming more and more and more extreme. And it is a problem because you get so far left that you turn right. And this is happening, I think, in veganism. I think people are going so far into strict veganism that they are completely alienating everyone around them. People are getting so blinded by being 100% vegan, perfect. It's a cult, and it alienates people, and it makes vegans look very unrelatable and makes veganism just something people just almost scoff at now. I think there was this amazing boom in 2016 when I first started my channel, like 2014 to 2016. There was an amazing boom because of social media. Loads of people talking about veganism, promoting plant-based living and that way of eating, documentaries coming out about the harm being done to animals. And I think there's this incredible boom. And the years that followed, so many more products in the supermarket. I think what's happened is that boom happened, and then it's almost like people have just swung backwards and they've swung back against it because they realise that actually veganism is quite difficult. Lots of people haven't sustained it. Lots of influencers haven't sustained it. My belief is that the reason for that is because it is, and it has become so extreme. I just think it's become unattainable. People in this day and age, they don't have the money, they don't have the time to be able to do it. So they'd rather just not bother. That's my thought. And I think therefore veganism is harder. It's more expensive to get by nowadays. It's more alienating, I think, for a lot of people with their day-to-day lives. I also think just the cult-like mentality, I think, is too much for a lot of people. And I wish it wasn't that way. I have been sort of sharing vegan recipes for a long time online, and I feel completely alienated by the community because apparently I'm harming it. So I don't know what to do. Can we not just say that people have different ways of approaching things? And I can have a belief system and an opinion, and others can as well. But you don't need to, like, hound other people for it. I just got diagnosed with ADHD, and I wondered if you're getting ADHD coaching, etc. I haven't. It's something actually I'm considering whether I should find a therapist or coach who can help specifically with my ADHD, because it's something I'm curious about. I do think though, because of my age and the age I've been diagnosed, I have like self-medicated in lots of ways over the years in terms of like I've learnt, because it's almost like since 2020, I think I talked about this in the video where I shared that I have ADHD. I suspected it in 2019, 2020, and since then I have kind of done things to help myself with the kind of self-diagnosis. Every year that passes I get better at doing that. So I've actually managed to help my ADHD in so many ways. I do still really struggle with it in so many ways, and I'm considering trying medication when I'm not breastfeeding anymore. We shall see, but yeah, it's something I might consider because maybe they have things that I was not aware of or haven't even considered. It's something I would definitely consider. I think probably one of the most, which is so simple and maybe people are going to roll their eyes at this, but probably one of the most life-changing things that I do now and have done for years is I live by my calendar. Because one of my biggest problems was forgetting things and being late for things and things just slipping through my fingers. That can have huge impacts on everything in your life, your relationships, your work, your admin, you know, even stuff like bills and money. It just can completely like affect and destroy so many things. I've almost swung in the opposite direction where I am so unbelievably particular. Absolutely everything has to go into my calendar. Like I have a Trello board, everything's very organized. It often falls out of being organized and I have to get back to it, but I live by it because my brain can't. My brain cannot do those things, and I'd recommend something like that. Digital for me works best because it's always on my phone, my laptop, my iPad, like it's always somewhere. Whereas a book could be hidden in a cupboard or a drawer, I could lose it. I always have my phone. So many people, just funnily enough, literally I got about 5, 6 people asked, how's your relationship with Alex changed? Must be an interesting, I think people are going through that and maybe not talking about it. Any advice for starting YouTube now? I would say, because it's so much more, so much more people doing it, so much more competition, figure out what you want to do on YouTube and just go for it. Don't worry about what other people are doing because it can get into your head a little bit. If there is something that you've sparked an idea on when it comes to YouTube, which it seems maybe you have, make those videos, and if one of them does a bit better, and I'm talking even if you're at the stage where you're getting a few hundred views, which I went through for a long time, if one video gets 400 views and then another video gets 800, keep doing the one that got 800 views, and then when that video then gets 1,000, keep doing that thing that gets 1,000. Duplicate the thumbnails and literally make them the same, just slightly different. The title the same, but slightly different. People and algorithms like that. They like the repetition, they like to know what they're coming back for. Algorithms like that as well. So do you and what you want to be sharing, and honestly be your authentic self and give your perspective, but also ride on the wave of whatever is doing the best, and keep doing that over and over and over again as a pattern until you get some momentum. Then you can start branching out and doing some other bits in between, and maybe there's a new sort of video idea or series that you could add to it. But I remember back in the day I was obsessively looking at Social Blade, and I still do this now, where if a video works, just keep doing it until it doesn't work anymore. That's my advice if you're starting. Do you ever struggle with feeling like a competent parent? I worry I won't be good enough. I think lots of people who say this, if you're worrying you're going to be a good enough parent, I think you're just going to be a great parent. And I think that you underestimate yourself, because if you worry about being a good parent, that means you're already being caring, you're already being conscious and aware. No one's perfect and you're going to get things wrong. But as long as you are always trying and you repair and you move forwards, you're going to be a fantastic parent. Yeah, I struggle with it too, but I always tell myself that. I always say, if you make a mistake, or if you don't do something right, or you think you have mum guilt about something, instead of dwelling on that or beating myself up because I'm doing so much and always trying so hard, and I'm trying to be a perfectionist with loads of things and I can't be, I just say to myself that, yeah, you can't be perfect, you have to just keep trying. And I know that some of the parenting books I've listened to, maybe that talk about when your child gets a bit older and they start to express their emotions, and you have to sort of deal with emotional regulation and teaching them things. It's less about making mistakes, maybe if you raised your voice at your child or you got annoyed. It's more about the repair after you've made the mistake, because everyone's going to mess up. And this could, do you know what, apply to the veganism topic, the psychology behind it. If you make a mistake, it's less about the mistake, it's more about repairing and trying next time. So if you raised your voice at your child, or if you did something wrong in terms of you felt like you weren't a competent parent, you didn't do enough for them, it's about going, okay, is that true, or is that just me being mean to myself? Or is it something I can maybe apologise for? If you've got a toddler, you could be like, I'm really sorry for raising my voice, and I will make sure not to do that in the future. That was not the right thing to do in the moment. That's going to matter more. Psychologically, with human beings, that's what matters. That applies to relationships, it applies to friendships, children, everything. It applies to the veganism thing. If you make a mistake with veganism, don't give it up. Keep trying. Try and try again. Yeah, give yourself the pat on the back that you're actually doing great. Because I often beat myself up because I'm a working mum. I often have to be on my phone, on my camera, I often have to be on my laptop, and sometimes I get so much guilt that I can't always be present with her. I'm always around her because my life is at home. I don't get to go to the office separate from her and have this kind of cut between life and work. Sometimes my only opportunity to do a brand deal that's going to pay money that will pay our bills that month is whilst I'm breastfeeding her. I have to sit there and go on my phone. And sometimes I feel bad about that, and I feel so guilty. I think I'm on my phone once again, and I this is the only time I have today because she skipped her nap, or because Alex isn't home because he's working, or whatever. And then I realise I literally cannot put more pressure on myself. I cannot do it all. I can only do what I can do, and maybe I can give myself a break, but also I can say, are there ways in the future that I can counteract that? So I've started now, we aren't doing the cottage. We have more structure now with who's looking after who and when. Me and Alex sit down at the beginning or the end of each week and plan the week following, because we're both self-employed. Who's having her when, who's doing what when I'm working, etc. It means now I'm able to work a lot more separately from her, and I don't have to feel that guilt as much. And yeah, you're doing amazingly. Parents are superheroes. I think ever since becoming one, I realised all the parents around me, they are doing the most all the time, and they are doing their best. And I think there are far more amazing parents than there are bad ones. Does your mum or mother-in-law tell you how to parent? I'm struggling right now. There was a couple questions as well about, do other people tell you how to parent and what do you do about it? The thing is, my mum watches my videos. So I'm not gonna be specific. My mum is actually amazing. She doesn't really do this, but yeah, other generations and other people will have different approaches to parenting, and sometimes they might make comments that they don't realise are maybe not what you want to hear, or they did things differently when they were younger, or maybe they have an outlook that you don't have yet because you don't have you've never had a toddler, child or teenager or whatever, because you're not older and you don't have that wisdom yet. And sometimes it can be a bit like, just let me be your first time mum, you know, just let me figure it out on my own, or that's not how we do things anymore. And I would say the best way to deal with it is literally just don't even pay attention to it. Take the advice that you want to take, and any other forced advice, if you don't want it, you can just go, thanks for that, that's helpful, thanks for the advice, we're just going to keep doing it the way we want to do it, or thanks for the advice, and leave it at that. And if someone is in your life constantly trying to tell you how to parent, you can just say to them, I know that you may be trying to help, I actually don't want advice right now on parenting, I'm finding it really enjoyable just figuring it out on my own. And maybe don't go to them for advice or vent to them about parenting, because maybe it's because you're talking to your mum or mother-in-law about parenting, and so they interpret that as you wanting advice. And you could just say, no, I don't want advice, I want to vent. Or you could just vent to someone different, maybe someone your own age, or like another mum or someone else who has the same parenting style as you. My mum is like not like that. She might make comments here and there where I'm a bit like, oh, that's not really how we do it anymore. Maybe like, I know that it was different, like how you put babies to sleep when we were little, but she would never like ever, if I said, oh, I don't really want to do that, she would just stop talking about it. So like I have a very wonderful, helpful mum in that sense. But if you have someone who's maybe not helpful or a bit stubborn like that, let it go over you, wash over you, and just ignore it. A question about what I'm going to do when Elowen asks me why we don't consume animal products. This whole conversation around allergies and veganism, vegetarianism has like, again, run away with itself on my channel. I've talked about it a lot because I kind of feel like it's helpful, because it's raising awareness and it's maybe giving an idea for people who maybe want to do the same. If you don't want to do the same, that's great, but there are lots of vegan, vegetarian parents who have this dilemma when it comes to allergies. But when she's at the age though that she could ask us, she would be able to tell the difference between, why are you having that yogurt and I'm having this yogurt. I feel like she'll probably be at the age we don't really need to expose her to allergens as often anymore, because she's past that like risk time. I don't actually know for sure that part of it yet, because I'm not at that stage of my parenting. I don't actually know what age you're supposed to expose them to allergens or how long for. I only know so far that you're supposed to do it when they're a baby and when they're weaning. So yeah, I'll do it for as long as the science backs it up, and then if she asks me, I'll literally tell her this in a baby way or a child way. I'll say, yep, you're being exposed to allergens, we choose not to eat it because we don't want to eat animals or anything that they produce, and that's what we choose to do. But for now, we're getting you, we're doing this for you, for your safety and health, and then in the future you can eat what we're eating and you can choose to be vegan. And whatever she chooses, again, I will support, and that's how we'll approach it. We'll tell her the truth. Do you plan to have more children? Do you feel the pressure to do this soon? We do plan to have more children, and yes, I do feel the pressure. Like I said, like I have this like dilemma in my head where I'm like, I want to have children now because I don't want us to be too old and she's older. I'm obviously getting older. Risks increase once you go over 35, and I don't know, maybe sometimes I worry that the second time of getting pregnant, will it be harder, because that happens to people. And I really want to have more children, and sometimes I think, should I have started earlier? But I don't think I would have been ready. But yes, I do feel the pressure to have children, because I feel like it's almost like I want to give myself time to heal, I want to give myself time to adjust, but I also just want to almost get it over with. I did not enjoy pregnancy, and I don't know that I can do that as I get older. And I just would rather just be like, right, that era of my life is done. Pregnancy is done, and I can enjoy the lovely part, which is children. I love having a baby. I just want to have a family with children. I don't want to do the whole pregnancy thing. Again, also because of the health anxiety, I don't want to be older. Not that there's anything wrong or to worry about having children over the age of 35. I think it's over-exaggerated, and more women are having children older nowadays. But for me, I get personally anxious about it. So yeah, I do feel that pressure. Okay, there's kind of a few interesting ones. I've actually missed this whole section. Has viewership on your IG YouTube changed since becoming a mum, more or less? It has. Unfortunately, women and mums don't earn as much when they become a mum. It's just an age-old fact, whatever industry you're in. There are so many people who've tuned out from me because I became a mum. Fair enough. And also you don't have the time. You don't have the same time to be creative, the free time to make as much content. So I've not been able to put out as much content as I used to since becoming a mum. I've gone from 2 videos to 1. And there have been periods where I've kind of basically disappeared and not made content on Instagram, for example, for like a month or 2. And so my viewership has definitely gone down, especially on YouTube since becoming a mum. I think also maybe that's in conjunction with just short form content blowing up and taking off even more so. So yeah, it has definitely impacted how many views I get. The swings and roundabouts, because then also you sometimes get peaks in views because you're talking about being pregnant or announcing your gender, or when you've had your baby, and you gain almost like new following from sharing different kind of content. Because before I wasn't sharing anything in relation to being a mum, and now I am. So I've got probably a whole load of new followers who follow me specifically for that and have nothing to do with the stuff I used to share, like veganism or home stuff. So yeah, I imagine that probably in the next few years it will go back up again as people follow me for being a parent and talking about being a mum. But yeah, it has definitely changed. How long do you plan on breastfeeding? What we miss most about it? I plan on breastfeeding for as long as Elowen wants me to breastfeed. I had her 1 year review today and it went amazingly. She's in the 98th percentile for her height, which is so funny. But yeah, she said to me, breastfeed for as long as you want to, for as long as she wants you to. So I will keep going until, yeah, mum and baby are happy. She may one day turn around and be like, I'm not interested anymore. I'm already noticing she's less interested than she was. She's not really feeding to sleep as easily anymore. And she's not feeding for as long. She definitely is going down. It's making me a bit emotional. But yeah, I feel like I have the kind of privilege in my job and what I do in Alex to be able to keep breastfeeding for as long as I can. So, and sleep. Let's answer the question of sleep. Lots of questions about how is she sleeping? How are you sleeping? What are you doing? We still co-sleep. I love co-sleeping so much. We're thinking about, well, the next project in the next video is we're trying to sort out her nursery finally. She's nearly a year and we still haven't done it. We want to get her a floor bed so we can start transitioning her to do her naps and her like first sleep at nighttime in her own bed, in her own room, because that's where we would like to be in the future. But I'm not gonna put any pressure on it because I do love co-sleeping with her. She's just getting a lot bigger. She's in 12 to 18 month clothes. She's much longer. As I just said, she's in the 98th percentile. She's wriggly, she's kicking. And I think sometimes the reason she wakes up is because of us. Maybe one of us rolls over. Often if I go to the toilet in the night, it wakes her up. Or if I roll over, it wakes her up. She is sleeping so much better through the night that I feel like maybe she would benefit from sleeping in her own bed. Sleep is tricky at the minute in terms of her getting to sleep. Once she's asleep, it's quite good. But she's learning to stand, trying to walk, moving around everywhere. So the sleep regression is hitting in terms of her. She's just refusing naps and she's taking forever to go to bed at night time. Anyway, thank you so much for all those questions. I feel like this was a very long video. Yeah, I know lots of them were mum and baby related, but hopefully it was juicy enough for you and you enjoyed it. And stay tuned for the next vlog because I am going to get back into the home related content. It's been a while since we've talked about this house, because we've been doing the cottage, but I want to get back into it because this house has fallen to ruin. I need to sort it out. There's so many projects, there's so many things. So stay tuned, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. That feels very OG YouTuber to say all these things, I'm very nostalgic. But I'll see you in the next video and I love you all. Bye-bye.